My name is Olivia Bugie. For my presentation, I'm exploring emotional intelligence as both a psychological framework and a cultural lens for understanding how relationships are formed and sustained in contemporary society. My central claim is that emotional intelligence functions as a stabilizing force in a relational environment increasingly shaped by immediacy, digital mediation, and emotionally heightened experiences. It allows us to distinguish between emotional intensity and emotional depth, a distinction that has become especially important in modern love. Technology accelerates interaction, but this does not necessarily deepen connection. Because of this, emotional intelligence becomes more than an interpersonal skill. It becomes an interpretive tool that shapes how we perceive meaning, navigate conflict, and sustain relationships over time. Defining emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is commonly understood as the capacity to recognize, interpret, and regulate emotional information in oneself and others. Salovey and Mayer framed it as the ability to use emotional data to guide thinking and behavior, while Goleman expanded its relevance to leadership and relational effectiveness. Together, these perspectives reposition emotion not as a disruption to rationality, but as a parallel form of cognition, one that informs how we interpret social reality. Communication through an emotional lens. From a communication standpoint, emotional intelligence enhances interpretive precision. It encourages individuals to attend not only to language, but also to tone, context, and emotional subtext. This shift transforms dialogue from a purely transactional exchange into a collaborative process of meaning making. When people respond with awareness rather than reflex, misunderstandings decrease and conversations gain depth, reinforcing the idea that emotional perception is central to effective communication. Emotional intelligence in relationships. Within relationships, emotional intelligence manifests as emotional attunement, the capacity to accurately perceive and respond to another person's internal experience. This attunement fosters trust because it signals psychological safety and empathy. Over time, consistent emotional responsiveness creates stability, demonstrating that meaningful connection is built less on dramatic expressions and more on sustained understanding. Limerence as a cultural contrast. To fully understand emotional connection in a contemporary culture, it is useful to examine limerence, a term introduced by psychologist Dorothy Tanav. Limerence describes as an intense state of romantic infatuation characterized by idealization, uncertainty, and emotional dependency. While subjectively powerful, it is often sustained by projection rather than reciprocal knowledge of another person. Examining limerence alongside emotional intelligence reveals a critical insight. Emotional intensity can exist without emotional clarity. Intensity versus depth. The distinction between limerence and emotionally grounded love lies not in how strongly we feel, but in how consciously we interpret those feelings. Limerence amplifies emotional highs, whereas emotional intelligence introduces reflection, context, and interpretive awareness. This awareness allows connection to develop through understanding rather than assumption, transforming attraction into something more stable and reciprocal. The influence of digital culture. Digital communication reshapes emotional perception by removing many contextual cues such as tone, body language, and immediate feedback. In these environments, individuals often fill interpretive gaps with projection, creating a sense of closeness that may feel real but remains emotionally untested. Emotional intelligence becomes significant in this context because it encourages reflective interpretation instead of reactive assumption, grounding relationships in awareness rather than imagination. Beyond romance. The implications of emotional intelligence extend far beyond romantic relationships. Research demonstrates its influence on leadership effectiveness, group cohesion, and psychological well-being. Individuals with higher emotional awareness are better equipped to regulate stress, resolve conflict constructively, and create environments characterized by trust and collaboration. Central insight. Ultimately, emotional intelligence reframes connections as an intentional and interpretive process. In a cultural landscape defined by speed, constant communication, and emotionally heightened experiences, it provides the cognitive and emotional tools necessary to differentiate between excitement and genuine compatibility. Conclusion. What emerges from this discussion is that emotional intelligence is more than a relational skill, it is a mode of perception. It shapes how individuals interpret emotional nuance, approach others with empathy, and construct meaning within their relationships. In an environment that often accelerates connection, emotional awareness perceives depth, transforming interaction from something reactive into something intentional. Thank you.